Hi, this is Dr. James with a short PowerPoint dealing with the difference between a democracy and a republic. I thought that this question might be a good one for us to start with tonight because last week we were mentioning the difference of opinion that some Americans have about whether or not we have a democracy or a republic. So hopefully this information will help to clarify that question just a little bit. First of all, the whole idea of a republic is based on the notion of states' rights versus federal authority. So when you're looking at the idea of a republic, it's about a group of states or a group of jurisdictions that are governed under a centralized government, a federal government, what we have in Washington, D.C., as compared to the state governments like we have in Georgia and Atlanta. So when you're taking a look at this distinction between a republic and a democracy, it's important to consider the idea that one of these is describing our form of government, the other is a kind of system for how the government will actually run. So one might say that we have a republic, but at the same time we are using a democratic system of government. Another example of this idea of a representative democracy is looking at the Electoral College. Remember the idea that during a presidential election we'll have some states that will end up having a split vote between two candidates, but the votes to the Electoral College from that state will all go to the majority winner in that state. So in some sense that difference of opinion has to be erased or lost a little bit. The history of the Electoral College, you may know, is related to problems that had happened in other presidential elections where there was a close vote. The Electoral College almost guarantees that there will not be a close vote because of that evening out of the difference of opinion and the loss of those minority representation votes from those states. Another example would be distinctions between race and taxes. The way that Democrats and Republicans look at these two issues has been very different over the course of our history, and in some ways it may be in ways that you would not necessarily expect. Taking a look at the question of especially racism in the United States, historically Democrats were not associated with being anti-racist, and Republicans were. In terms of taxation, traditionally fiscal conservative Republicans see themselves as arguing for lesser taxes to try and encourage a free market economy, to try and grow sort of capitalism between different corporations in terms of competition. Democrats traditionally argue in favor of higher taxation and that it's going to end up benefiting certain social programs. Another example would be a difference in how the courts are seen. Remember that our system of government has a split in terms of three different divisions: the executive, the judicial, and the legislative branch. The judicial branch is meant to be a check and balance on the other two, so when it comes to certain kinds of laws, there's a constitutionality that can be reviewed through the judicial system, which may or may not end up agreeing with how the executive branch or the legislative branch looks at that issue.